Hello everyone, I'm Zufar Bikbov and this is oil painting from me and at Rosera Studio, which is in Watertown, where I paint and do these recordings. Um, Today you are watching it as in a little different format. It's kind of live going at the same time I'm watching it, watching your questions. So if you have any questions, please ask them below the video. Definitely have some sort of window if you're watching on desktop or on your mobile devices. So I'm present online with you. I'm there. At the same time, I cannot be in my studio at this time. We're traveling with my family and with two friends from Ukraine and one from Russia. We went to Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts, and that's, I mean, we have the whole week packed, and tonight, that's the night of doing it. So, but anyway, I'm there. I'm watching with you. I'm following questions. I'm actually following questions also after the broadcast happened. Just answering can take a longer time. And I really appreciate those who are coming and then sharing. And thank you for those who support my channel. I created new tip jar page, so you can check it down like in description of the video. It's also on my channel, like among those links. So below the video probably the easiest way to access it. So now let's talk about our view. It's not going to be anything absolutely different. It's not abstract. It's a realist in style of realism and impressionism painted view from Maine, one of our favorite, through the entire country, especially for those who live in New England. Boat, greenish water, and I try to pick this time a relatively simple view, but with boats it never goes very simple. I think you'll find a value of painting this water with these little ripples, and also I want you to be inspired by the weather when the day is overcast. It's not I don't know, it's not the day to waste. If it's not raining, it's not terribly windy, you still can go and paint outside, especially if the water is next to you and especially if you're on the coast. So let's move further. As usually, if you're a subscriber of the webinars, again, link is in description, not only on YouTube, but I mean like getting emails, you are getting reference images, and soon I want to make it even more convenient, right on special page on my website, so you don't really need to look for that email, or in email you can get reference in advance, but I want to post everything on website, so you can come to website, see references right there, or to get them from email, get on website if you want video about the composition, treatment of the surface, etc. And then come to webinar, and you can watch it also on website. That's in plans, and I think that will be convenient. But for some people who are not aware of my website, will not be aware of my website, they always can find me on YouTube. And please share these videos. More views is great, more likes is great, support from you is great. I think, and I've seen that through medical career and through our teaching career, that creative process really makes our life fuller, more, I mean, the brain functions better. We're just happier people. Not every artist is happy, but quite often outlet for your dreams, for your role as an artist, someone who creates, it makes a very positive changes. So please share videos or links or website or just kind of idea of painting. It doesn't have to be just mine, but if you share my information, I'll be very pleased with other your peer friends, especially those whom you feel that they need it. So are we ready to start? Let's get and start our video. Okay, let's start painting, and I will try to paint faster. So I'll take my bristles, and again, I'll be not paying much attention to very delicate shapes, etc. First of all, I'll try to work on our background, which is sky here, and then water body. They are in values pretty close and they're light enough. And also we have here these boats, at least their tops are light enough. So starting with like a background is a good strategy. And I will start with a wider brush. So this will be my medium. And even for first layer, we're not usually trying to add, just working mainly with transparent paints. Adding white for sky, especially on cloudy day, is not a bad idea. And also, it's not that clear blue. Of course, we lost intensity, but I want to mix a small amount of this nice cadmium added, and then mixing it with this mix of white and blue. We're getting this beautiful mix overall. And so I also you could see I separated the cloud part and those clouds in the distance, which are lighter in value. And actually, if we talk about the lit areas, the blue, the kind of pinks there in distance, you can really observe here. So working pretty much as a watercolor. If you have a chance and you work in studio, what you can do, you can have your drawing, I mean these all lines, be applied with your, maybe with something like acrylic paint with a thin brush. That's also could be an option. And so then, but of course I would recommend you not to go with the dark lines, maybe with interrupted lines, so they could be visible at the same time when we apply thicker paint with a second layer. It should disappear. All right, this seems to be dark. That's fine. If you think it's too much, you always can kind of like make it more even. And then let's say you can add a little bit more of a blue in some particular area, adding medium, don't forget. And even though it looks crazily intense on our palette, it's not that bad on our canvas because we're not going over dry surface. We're going already over some paint and everything gets diluted. Okay, that's I think good enough for beginning. Color is not accurate, but the values are more important. And what the value is, it's hard to say because of everything else on canvas is white. So I should say also, you probably noticed that the water area is kind of greenish compared to the sky. I usually dedicate one brush for sky, but sky here is so simple. I don't really need in my first layer to go over it with bristle. So based on this initial mix, I'll create a second mix with a little amount of the viridian green, which makes this mix slightly darker and cooler. And here I will try to go around our boats. I'm not even trying to, this brown actually started being in the way. Try to go around our boats. There is another boat, as you remember there. I'm not really paying attention to that much. So what is happening here under this mooring? If it's still too much details, let's see. Yeah, we don't have anything blurrier. And usually towards us, angle at which we're looking at the water is changing, so it usually gets darker. But again, I think cannot see that much in here. That's definitely, that definitely it's not getting lighter, just looks in value very similar to what we have above. And also ripple size are getting smaller, like away and away from us. I still want you to remember that under perfect light water surface condition, like no wind, so this area gets darker and that area gets lighter. Here the wind interferes with all this, and rule doesn't work perfectly well, but still, again, here water cannot be lighter than in that area if the sky overall evenly lit. Okay, have their little line of land. Okay, so don't pay attention to that thing, which is a little extra, whatever, platform or piece of foam board. So what to do with that area? Okay, we're going to paint that soon, and so now we're working on a smaller, not details, but smaller shapes, and tops of these boats will be, some of them are warmer, some of them are cooler, pretty much neutral. Okay, let's generalize them like this way, but in value it looks like all this area as I painted as it should be on this mooring, and it's time to paint mooring. This area is in shade. Also, you know, that dark reflection areas, I will cover them as well. Just don't want to lose those lines. Okay, while paint is wet, I still can kind of spread paint more evenly. Using horizontal brush strokes, even though when it's like a lake area we go with the vertical brush strokes. I should say the reflections here are not that long except of this shape. I think there is no, you can paint it whatever way you want to do, with vertical, with for the first layers, or with horizontals, as overall through the painting process towards the end. Okay, so now let's work on a lighter part of this platform. The right top here is very light. It's a dry timber, which was dried probably by the sun. It looks like a bone, white bone. And then that a darker area. And I think before I get to darker, I will tap my brush into darker paint. Let me work on these boats. It's a gray top. Of course, gray is never just gray paint. We don't paint gray shapes just with plain neutral gray paint. For that land area, let's just show it over there. And yeah, let's work on this part. And it has some orange areas and some olive green areas. And to make olive green, you always can mix viridian with cadmium orange, which is a strong pigment and opaque. Shall I really go with all those intricate shape. No, I think I can pretty well build my general shape of these posts like that, and the bottoms of them are like in brownish and purplish. Definitely can see there are a number of colors. Okay. First layer we can go slightly darker. Then we want to see this area at the end of the painting, because we always can go with a thicker, lighter, opaque paint. Cannot even understand exactly without good drawing what's there happening. And I think this is top of, I think some there's just some stairs or something going down. Anyway, it'll be anyway hard to understand what's there. It's too sharp, it's too dark over there. As we see on our reference image, maybe we need to soften it. And there are a couple of other lines. All the shape seems to be quite abstract. All right. I will add more of cooler green. I like to create a reflection in this area. Because of ripples, it will be all crossed with horizontal brush strokes, horizontally positioned waves. At least a couple of colors trying to work one with another. Of course, adding brown and then a tiny amount of purple would be a good idea. So what's happening here on this edge? I'm not going to do that floater. And I'll add another color over there soon. So right now, working with values. And here I have a reflection in water, and everywhere this reflection has some green in it. That's how Atlantis in main area, water of Atlantis looks like. I don't think I see any other reflection here. Maybe like this small part. All right. And what's happening here? Yes, the mooring. And now let's define this edge. I'm wiping my brush, mixing some purple, adding some white to slightly desaturate that because it's crazily too strong. Can always add raw sienna, and can now do this edge. And now I think it looks pretty accurate in color. Maybe a small amount of purple is here as well. There. Okay, and with this side of the boat, which is pretty clean and greenish and purplish edge, that's a warmer one. There is one part which even has some greenish color in it. Not much that of orange. Definitely will be some blue there, right? So we see this little end of the blue boat, some plastic, I think, or maybe it's painted wooden, but looks like it's plastic. Okay, so now this edge of the boat, which is looks like black, very popular, and then the kind of greenish waterline. And of course, when we do black, we're not going with the black. We'll try to mix a bigger amount of ultramarine blue, and we'll add a smaller amount of cadmium orange. And since it's distant, I'm not going to even work with this dark mix. So it's kind of will be warmed up ultramarine. Nobody likes those boats attached. So shall we paint it? I will do it, but then later in the studio I can decide, do I want it or I don't want it there. Of course, you can say that there is also a little detail here of the same, but that could be always added later. And again, we're not painting, we're painting a color study. Okay, can we do anything for this boat? It looks like it's gray top. Has a couple of details which we can really paint with this mix. And there is another boat which will not look great because looks like something else will be on the roof of this boat. What we can do, we can give some distance if we want to put some marks now, and do it like it's somewhere there. So giving this kind of separation or shifts can make things look more believable, understandable. There's another boat there, like a canoe or something like that. All right, so it's a good time now to work on that house and trees. I'm not going to create that many windows, and even though green is some of those colors which easily, I call it, contaminate other paints, but red is pretty much the same way. So let's go with green, because overall in this painting we'll have more of a green. And of course these spruce trees, some of them are slightly warmer in color, some of them are just cooler. Tops could look warmer because of those cones. And what else do we have in here? Edge of the house, like a couple more. Then we have a roof, which you could see in value is darker than the sky. And sky dried now, it looks lighter than it looked earlier, right? So more of a blue, but it's overall kind of grayish color. So I can take another brush, maybe more delicate, not maybe, but definitely. So I'll take a smaller brush, like size 2. And now you can even simplify. I think it's too busy. Unless you are doing commission for people who live in that house, they'll say, yeah, oh yes, if you paint it as you like it, they may say like, we don't like it. That's not our house. There are some rocks on the foreground, and it looks like it's a granite, and it has some blue in it. Okay, and let's now do a red part of that house. Don't try to paint it intense. It will be something grayish, reddish mix. We have this mix already here, and let me just wipe off excess, some small amount of quinacridone. Let me call it just alizarin, and add some white. So you see it's a kind of reddish something, cooler red, and nothing red at all if we talk about what we think about when we say red. It's a reddish something. Okay, let's have it this way. I really like this brush now because I'm going slightly to refine all the shape of boats. It has a number of different accents. I just want it, I don't want it to look like a shoe here under some wrong angle. I'll try to kind of separate one boat from another, or at least to highlight some lines. That's exactly how these things go. Again, when you need to paint it, you're painting it to make it more accurate, of course you go with your pencil first on paper. Then we have like 7 or 8 boats together. You need to know how to make that pattern. If it's not something which you're very professional with, try with pencil first. That would be my advice. And I quite often do that because I cannot know everything how to paint unless you are the guy who paints always in boatyard. Right now this deck, and it's darker at the tops of the these boats. At the same time we will apply more of a paint later. I think this value should be quite accurate to work with at this moment. Right. I think you've seen how these bigger shapes of the sky and water were easy to apply first. Now I would like to work on these single objects with my second layer, and of course with correction of drawing if there is any along the way, and applying thicker paint application. And then after that I'll be working on again big mass of the sky and water. Okay, now let's work on our top layer. I'm not going to use this as a medium. Rather than just to clean our brushes, I'm switching to softer synthetic brushes, flat ones, and if needed I can go with filberts. And I'm going to now start with a darker colors, and of course with a simple one first and then more intricate. So I think I will try to deal with these geometrical kind of constructions, wooden, and let me work with, I think like number 2 or number 3 flat. That would be my brush. What I'm going to use, I really like that mix of cadmium, orange, and ultramarine blue. And now I can go with a bigger amount of white where I need it, and of course there's a little bit of purple mixes on the edge will be needed. So that's kind of indefinite color, and we are now starting more on the dark side and then moving toward light ones. Trying to rush slightly because of, again, that's the kind of format of study, color study. And now I can work on a little bit more colors at this stage. Okay. Usually at this time I start correcting my drawing. I can think about it actually. If needed, I can go and do it. And also, if I think like, oh, this is not clear, even doesn't really work well for my study, so I can take a smaller brush and do correction of some lines here. Okay, correcting some lines here. This seems to be quite tall. Again, that's all is because of its mane. Where I need to go dark, I can go with purple. Don't want to start with browns right away. It will be time for browns when needed. And let's say this is edge here. So that floater is on the way. I think yes, this post ends somewhere here. Again, when you're painting outside, there are no any borders, right? So you paint as you can see that. There are some, these are just cross bars or something like that. It's hard to say exactly what's going on there. Hard to say what's happening. Maybe like that. Hopefully that's correct. So top of platform, slightly lighter. Right, these grays are very, very complex. Very hard to say right from beginning what we're going to see in there. Okay. Look at these nice blue colors. And here we have this water. Let's just show it darker where it's supposed to be darker. And now all reflection is pretty much the same, but more of a green, with addition of a green. If I was using like professional grade paints, all this viridian green would be very intense, but this is pretty well kind of diluted. And it's not actually a bad thing here, at least. So here again, those ripples cross, but I will continue pretty much with the same paint as we have above, and then we'll create these broken lines. And in this area, slightly different. I'm going pretty thin. All right. So now for these boats. Not that easy, but at the same time, I just need to free my mind from regular task of doing everything accurately, doing everything measured many times. I'm just creating these lines now along sides of these boats, and some of them look like it was a black side of the boat. Somewhere it was greenish. Again, don't have to go anymore with transparent paint. We can go with opaque, heavier load of paint in here. Now I'll work with green. And then we'll add some darker part where the water line of the boat's supposed to be. I can spread my paint now slightly with thinner paint application. Slightly thinner. We'll kind of chop this area off using our thicker paint with this of the next layer. I can go beyond this area where we could still observe on our reference images those reflections. Again, it's not a problem at all. This looks better, but why I want try to finish all this area with, unless I need to wait when some layers get dry. I don't think I need to. So let me just work on these areas where I see some yellow ochre area. Of course, not going with a plain yellow ochre. Mixing it. There's some shadow side. Another boat, probably different paint. We can go with the raw sienna, which is diluted. Not diluted, but mixed with titanium white. And in a third area, maybe we should go a slight amount of orange. Add it. I think there is some other details. Okay, and now going even lighter. This boat inner side looks slightly purplish. It's not totally purple. It's just gray, and has more of a blue in it. White, so it's hard to say. It's probably that kind of special type of paint. Going further and further and further in our painting, we need to apply less brush strokes with more precision. That's how it works with at least with the regular painting. Same thing here. There is another boat which is very white inside. Let me make it slightly different, adding maybe a small amount of the turquoise. Something like that. Again, cooler white with some blue addition. It's right on top here as well. In this area, there is something white. Cannot even say exactly. Again, let's think about patterns. Maybe it's not a boat or just something sitting on top. We need to create very light white. If we need to go, I'm sorry for the alarm. If we need to go with a more white, we're just adding more of a cadmium lemon or cadmium yellow light. That, of course, this could be saved for later stages, but I just want to show you that we can go lighter with a thicker paint application. All right, that would work. So now let's, and sometimes we just need to go with our maybe back of our brush. Sometimes we'll go with palette knife, just with a clean one, just to press against it. So now probably that's the lightest possible area we can create with in our paintings. I want to create a whole variety of colors I can see. I don't think there is anything else when it will interfere. I don't really need it to leave for later. But definitely that will be one of those elements in the center of painting which attracts a lot of attention. That is why I'm kind of working on this pattern right now, not leaving for later. Okay, with the dark greens, like emerald greens, usually some orange colors or colors of that family, looks absolutely great. There is some gear on top. This looks good now. I'm pretty satisfied with overall feeling of that indefinite shape. And now let's work on a simplified version of that boat. We can start with our darks, which should be for the edge of for the side of this boat, which looks or dark blue or black with a greenish waterline. That's how it feels for me in here. And I'll add a small amount of brown, which is based on cadmium orange. Then on the bottom, it's hard to say, it's just edge of water is greenish, or there is a water line which is greenish. This area seems to be kind of a little bit lit. And the same way as we did here, I will create a softer edge to give some space for waves and reflection, which is interrupted by these waves. Inside, I'm glad we don't see everything so well defined. You see some color interaction, some basic shapes. Some bluish part here, trying to show there is that turquoise, aqua, green behind. It's a different boat. We decided to shift it. And I'm not going to do that very crazily. Turquoise, definitely, it's a nice addition for this shape overall. Again, try not to create those humongous engines. They don't really look very pretty. Top of that white button behind, I'll make it lighter, but let me just outline this part. I think I got this part a little too long. This part maybe too big. I'll make it smaller. Again, going slightly lighter and warmer around that turquoise side. I cannot really say exactly what exactly is turquoise. Not the whole side of that boat is turquoise, but it exists. And of course, even if it's white, it has some reflection in water, especially its side should be like greenish. I mean, it should be reflected in the water and give some greenish reflection. All right, we have this. Actually, I see here a little bit of turquoise here as well. Green, emerald green. Have here some white, almost white area. There's something on top of this boat, pretty light and white. And there's something else in there. Oh, that's those floaters. Then we have this little thing in the water. It's smaller. I think I did a little too big. Don't worry about it. Your boat is it has normal shape, but this floater is quite an unusual thing, as I think. So if I paint it smaller, just like a regular floater, it could be a better thing to do. Okay. So I'm not happy with this boat reflection. I think it's more shallow than I did it. I need more of that cleaner blue. I have a hard time mixing it so often. I cannot get color what I want. Like this. And then to kill that blue is easy thing. But still leaving it in some parts, making it look through. All right, that's better. Then top, to have that darker color and some turquoise. Again, with outlines we'll be able to remove excess of shape, that extra meat which we don't need there everywhere. So top of this deck, it's wider actually. Again, as I said, I'm not really paying much attention to sizes and shapes, even though I'm not paying much attention, but I still have to pay attention. It has a warmer side, it has cooler side. And we'll talk about the cooler sides. I think it's a rather grayish, purplish mixes like this. More of a white, definitely needed. Okay. And this side must be darker. Maybe different shift towards green. And now, for some reason, it's kind of reddish. It's probably a rusted iron or something. Makes it kind of brownish red or orangey. And then as a nice contrast to that viridian green containing reflection. Okay, that's good. So now we can see better these parts. Now we can go with a more opaque paint, less definite, less intense. Okay. I'll try to make this area not that shining and light. So I'll put its value slightly down, because again, it's peripheral object, peripheral area. That's good enough. Next thing I'm going to work on right now is that those rocks covered with some weeds, and it has some olive greens. It has there some raw sienna. That type of paints are visible to me on this reference image. This is a little too bright orange. Okay. And there are some lighter granite rocks, which are so typical. Do not know, can it be dumpstone, how colorful or not. Probably there is some pink color in its structure. Try not to create their very sharp edges. There's absolutely no need to do it. Maybe some blue. Tiny amount without much of mixing it with other paints. That part could be, I think it's a little too warm. And now these spruce trees, definitely a mix of cooler green and warmer green, and they are, when it's too much warm green, everything looks brownish. That's not a good choice overall. Somewhere we see blue in between branches, but that's the darker blue than the sky itself. Same way we can build this couple of spruce trees. We'll start with warmer greens. And value, of course, could be slight shift down, could be slightly, so like this spruce tree is darker, but again, in values, nothing is close to this is supposed to be. Even though on photograph it looks, that's probably camera did its own refining for a regular viewer, but for artists, that was a killing editing. If camera does make some areas in the distance shadows too deep. All right, now I can go, if I want, it's very gently somewhere with the soft edges showing, some areas darker. Trying not to mix too much the paint. Right, and that house and roof, I think roof would be easier to work on right now. I don't see anything on my painting which looks like a roof at this moment, but we can create it. It looks purplish for me when I look at the reference. It's just that type of gray. Cannot say what exactly there is. Something is laying. I think it's a big rock. Shall I include it? Don't think it's really worth doing it. And now, wall of that house. We can start with a bright red and then add some paint on it to decrease intensity of the red. Slightly cooler. And you know, the outline of the roof definitely gives a good idea that's the house. As for me, this is not the most typical architectural color for a house in Maine, so I will not try to really work hard to represent it accurately. And I'm not going to create a chimney. Maybe we'll add, just for color variety, some extra color like raw sienna and maybe somewhere blue, and maybe somewhere some whiter trimming. Very slight, nothing crazy. This was a little too much though. Again, for study, don't worry about it. Okay, let's look at the whole painting like this. Anything else I need to correct? For me, this area still looks pretty light. I mean, pretty dark. I need to be light. We're in a very special moment when we can do correction before we start applying darker paint, thicker paint around, and we'll be able to create silhouettes of all these shapes much easier than up to this moment where we've been trying to create them. At the same time, the cost of mistake will be higher because that's going to be a thicker paint application, and it's hard to remove if you got it's wrong. It's hard to remove that excessive paint. All right, I think we're pretty good now. And why won't we start with a cleaner area, which is in this case is the sky? I'll take a slightly bigger brush, like size 4, 5. And again, colors are for me important, but not much the shape. Let me let me clean this palette and come back to you in a minute. Okay, we are done with part of the video process. This video will be about less than 2 hours. That was my goal. I wished we could do it within 1 hour. We're moving towards that, and I would like to tell you that What I'm showing here, that's my first approach for painting these scenes. So there are some struggles, there are some questions, there are some choices to make, and I'm showing it to you openly. At the same time, this view can be done more smoothly, shorter, if it's not first attempt, or if I painted absolutely the same scene, that would be much easier. I want to overall be able to show you in my classes that how quickly within like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, if a scene is more complex, the study can be done. And then with enough materials plus reference image, which you can bring along with painting from plein air session, you can think, plan, and really kind of realize and make a bigger painting of any size, whatever you choose, 11 by 14 or 16 by 20 or 24 by whatever, 36, etc. It's up to your choice. But during these classes, again, I would like to show you final work on size of 12 by 16. That's probably what I can show you in my studio settings. It's not small painting, it still requires bigger brushes, and that's a big shift from 9 by 12 or 12 by 9, which is vertical in my format, to twice bigger painting. I'm saying about the surface. It's exactly twice a bigger surface. If we talk, yes, very close. If we talk about 12 by 16 or 16 by 12. Are we ready to see other part? That will be right after this a little pause. I'm not answering your questions here. I'm answering them all online. Please post them online and you will receive answer pretty much immediately, because I'm watching this broadcast as well from Massachusetts at this moment. And also thank you for those who put likes, subscribe, and support our channel. We had the generous supporters who are donating, and that really helps me to buy maybe and try extra paints and just feel better, feel better, so I can support my channel, because there are definitely some expenses. So please consider that if you are able to do so. All right, let's see second part of our painting process. Okay, I'm back, and let's work on these clouds. There is no like any open sky area. It just looks like the bottom is more flat. It has some pink colors, lit air clouds, and then the very dark bluish the belly of the cloud mass, and then something less definite above. So I'll start with the bottom. I think that's slightly easier. It's good to kind of jump into this story right from there. It looks crazily intense, and I will take a different brush just to add other color into it, and I'll try not to go with any browns at the beginning. Definitely have less intense blue here now, and value wise it seems to be accurate. Again, it's studio level paints. To get a right color intensity and clarity, sometimes an issue. But I think if I go with when I go with artist grade paints on your video, everything looks too bright. So I'm just trying to even this is grayish but looks so blue on your screens. There is some pink areas which I can add, I guess, slightly later. Now going slightly darker value and cleaner blue, and working on these parts of the paint. Do not know will I be able to correct that or not, but again, this is way too intense. Why it shows so crazily intense? I guess because of the in studio I don't have a daylight. It's a LED light that makes even ultramarine blue look crazily bright. When I look at this also under the same LED light, it doesn't look that crazy for me. I think value-wise I got it a little too dark. Definitely need to go with thicker paint application, and if I feel I'm moving towards the point where I cannot correct value, I can take my bristle brush in the sky. Since underpainting is so simple, just can maybe spread this whole paint further. This paint is not transparent, just thin. Let's see how that will work. Though I like this direction for the brush stroke, but overall I think vertical brush strokes might be more appropriate. Still a bit of yellow in that area, not just orange. So which turns, makes things look more greenish, and that's what we definitely see in this reference, that greenish paint, slight. And if you feel that your green is turning to be close to the grass green, that's not right. If we see any green in the sky, that's cooler green, like turquoise green, this type of green. So it takes more time for me, because if I'm trying to make it look accurate for you on your screens, so you don't get that feeling of the wrong mixes. As you see with thicker paint application, even going over not long time ago painted area, painted these spruce trees or pines, I can easily cover with a pig paint sides of it and kind of trim them this way. Again, the full design of these clouds is not anything of my ultimate goal. There is, don't forget that there is some pink clouds here in the distance. So we're creating them that with a alizarin type of paint. Color study again, you can could be shown just with a couple of brush strokes. You see how much it improves overall perception. And this paint around is thick enough, kind of like soften edges. It's very distant clouds. Okay, I think sky is good enough. This direction seems to be better for these clouds, I think. This is easier for me. Makes more sense to paint it this way. Try to mute it down with a little bit of yellow. I don't see much of effect. Okay. When you squint and look at the this area and the water here, definitely looks this area is darker than the water. And don't forget that this area is supposed to go darker because we're going to paint it with the more opaque paints. Also, I want you to notice that the water closer to horizon, I cannot say is there any land there or not, but it looks kind of like greenish, olive green, and dark right on the horizon. It's not purple, it's not blue, it's definitely kind of greenish, a warm green, gray, with a bit of a blue. I think I'm getting tired, or just slow down, because again I need to be more accurate with my brush strokes. But my brush strokes application and talk as well slows down, right? That's good. Overall, like how this ground and land looks like. I don't want it to be lighter or darker. Just want to apply more of opaque paint on it, and creating that type of complex color of seaweed, ground, maybe a small amount of oxide brown, transparent, and blue on the side. Can make these seaweed parts slightly more prominent. Small amount of a blue. Yeah, I got it darker, but I didn't get it too dark. I think I did not cross that line, which makes at times those objects from the distance start looking very close, jumping. Anything else here? I see here some zones which for me look bluish, like this area. Not sure what's there. Maybe there's some kayak is blue, or maybe I don't see any sky reflection that can make this blue things to appear. All right, now I need to mix a good amount of paint to cover all this area with some gradient. It doesn't look, if you compare what you see on the right and on the left, it's more of a blue here, less of a green, but need to understand that it's a complex color, you know. There is kind of grayish green with additional blue and additional some kind of warmer greens. So let's mix out of this, in this pile, some paint, which I can use to go at least over top part of my painting. So first I'm going with color, which is kind of like average color. This seems to be slightly darker, not quite darker actually, and slightly warmer. I think soon I'll need more of a paint, of a white paint here. This seems to be pretty close and accurate. I think I'll go for it. Going around these delicate areas around boats. I'll take a smaller brush. At the same time, it's nice to have another mix of the same value but slightly different color. So two colors together will create that lively effect of natural light, reflected light. Of course, part of this water is seen above those rocks. Oh, we need to smoothen that. Take even smaller flat brush. We'll spread the paint evenly towards horizon, and that's good. Of course, somewhere we'll see some areas of our underpainting. I mean the lower level of painting. So a lower layer of a painting visible. That must be fine. Again, delicate area. Let's go with smaller brush. You may need to mix some area of the same value but bluish, showing it here and there. Yes, we didn't paint the top of that boat. That the boat with the most distant here. Decided not to do that mortar, right? Yeah, I don't know what to do with this mortar. At least I'll show it as just interesting detail. Nothing exciting, a lot, but somewhat organically belonging to this boat gear family. Right. There is some, you could see, like somewhere you see a ripple in between areas, or maybe absence of ripple in between areas of a different water surface. Right, that works. Now they seem to be slightly darker than I wanted. We'll see how to solve it. Again, you cannot 100% accurate. We compare it to this reference image, but in reality, you won't be able to compare it when you're painting. Just all will be based on how you feel it looking out there to like over a 120-degree wide view and to your canvas. So now waves could be more and more definite. Again, even though it's my study, I want, if possible, without much of a extra time, use what my painting look decent. Again, if it doesn't take much time, if it's not like painting 200 million details. Right. What other colors are present there? Don't say that there are any purplish, but definitely something as of my favorite mix, number one, which I learned from Russian artist Brusilov on his webinars, and that was what he pointed, that this is really works well, and I will start experimenting, finding which cadmium orange works the best, and that's among American paints. That was cadmium orange by Utrecht. If I use a permanent orange, that seems to be too purplish. That turns to be very purplish. So I'm adding this extra different color mixes, and you will see how that works all together pretty soon. And I think I will make it the way as this ripples go across reflection from this mooring deck. All right, I don't think we have enough paint here. I need to mix more. You can use for that your palette knife, or you can do that with a bigger brush. I've been using brush. I got used to brush. But I also have seen there is not much well defined this part of the boat. Okay, bigger brush, medium, plenty of cadmium. I mean, plenty of titanium white. And now I'll take a smaller brush. We'll try to put my brush strokes in between those brush strokes, not going much over them, keeping those colors which were created with my previous brush. Like somewhere it's a more of a lighter and warmer paint. Let's know how that happens. If there is some warmer cloud above us. Wiping my brush, and then there are many boats. There are kind of like more cascades of those backs of those boats. Something like this. Maybe it's not the best way, but definitely explains why I'm trying to explain you why I'm doing this. I'm not trying to go over this area yet. It's nice also to have some sort of direction, even kind of like my brush strokes go like this way, but overall they create a little kind of continuation of them going this way along the wave, along the wind direction. Also, you notice that I missed that gap reflection between the nose, because all this solid area needs to be broken, I think. And overall, usually here it gets darker and greener, but of course it doesn't happen like at a specific level, it's just gradient. Let me add more of a green, and then I can go with extra brush strokes of maybe not much of that purplish color, but rather maybe with olive green or brownish paint. Burnt umber, which we haven't used yet. Maybe it's time for it. It's a kind of, we got lost a little bit here with all these reflections, and it's not that clear on our reference as well. That's one of the big reasons. So I'll fix it. But we can go with, again, with the thickness of the paint as much as we want. I will take now a smaller brush and we'll try to go over this area with the brush strokes like this, very thin paint application. It's supposed to create effect of smaller waves, and there is no gradient happening. It's relatively dark brush strokes or light brush strokes which represent the sky, or dark representing reflection, the dark side of these boats, their shadow sides. I think we got some extra time, and I can work on it like this. Again, this viridian green is pretty kind of diluted. Probably has some marble dust in it, so it's not much. It loses its color pretty easily. So let me add, what shall I add? Maybe some alizarin type of thing. Small amount of yellow ochre, and that looks greenish. But where I need exactly that green, this will go with a thick paint. I'll be able to dry this paint if I will just have it in my window exposed to the full sunlight. Even if days are not very sunny, it will dry much faster than just in my studio, because sunlight, even on overcast day, provide that energy which is needed for paint to dry. Try to go over reflection side on this boat. And we can create a slightly softer way of interacting with that reflection. That's better. And sometimes you see it's kind of slightly, we still can see that this top of the boat gets reflected further. I'm trying to experiment here. Maybe not every part of it is very successful. Try just to work with slightly different colors, but in value they must be pretty consistent. What's most difficult part is this part. Usually this way placement of brush strokes reads pretty nicely. Fortunately, this part of the construction doesn't have nice reading. It's very hard to understand what is happening. I took a number of pictures on that day, but could not really, for boats this is perfect angle, and I could not change these boats, their position. So I took a picture from this point. At the same time, I could include probably more of this mooring, even though I would not include it, but could still make things look easier to follow and understand. Sometimes you just have to simplify it the way it just makes more sense, because what I see here for me looks pretty abstract. Let's say top of these, I think these are some rails. Need to be placed at the same time, not that sharp edge Still nice that we have this paint available. To mix absolutely the same complex paint would be a problem. So good that I have it on my palette. And if I have time to work a little more, to create a little more of a texture or decrease texture, to create more accurate picture, that's the time to do it. You know, this white is almost gone, so I'm trying now to mix my paint wherever I can mix it. There's another, whatever is floating there. Sure, even on an overcast day, some areas of the sky clear up. It's not total overcast. You see clouds and you see some almost opening. So when you have those type of days, there is some always little sparkles shows up on water, not very bright ones. This area, since it would be shallow area, you can see some weeds showing up here and there. Now let's redefine this edge of the mooring. Maybe we can see some light in between. It shouldn't be that bright. It's a mistake. And just slightly lighter. That's I made this up, but I think that kind of helps to read that shape slightly better. If I had right next to me like smaller a round brush, I probably would correct some lines there, but it's not always necessary right now. I think overall that indefinite design looks pretty well. Looks like these boats are older and they're kind of connected to each other just a right way. We can include some brown also. It's not always just that emerald green. So where the very dark area, if you don't want to add brown, you can always go with, say, viridian and alizarin. It's also pretty dark mix. So I think we slowed down compared again to any study, but I think we did pretty well. Under 2 hours, the whole session will be finished. There's some sign here, and I do not know what to do with that boat in the distance. I think from above I'll be able to outline its top. Even on this reference I cannot understand what's that exactly. But definitely if there is any reflection, that's going to be very, very soft, just like suggestion of the line. And of course color-wise it's supposed to be still also having green according to presence of green here and then here. All right, so shall I? Yes, I think I still have some paint which will be good to go around the top of the boat. Okay, and now from now I can work indefinitely on this. View. All right, I think we should wrap up somewhere. If I come back to this painting like an hour later, definitely find something again to finish, to correct. But again, you need to define your goals right from beginning. If this is a study, don't much worry about accuracy of shapes, but really care about the accuracy of values and colors. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It wasn't very short, but it wasn't too long as well, just one session. I posted that on Instagram. It's still in my studio. I'm sure we'll do a few touch-ups to finish it. But overall, I think it looks quite whole. It looks that it's completed. Of course, there is always space for improvement. If I were coming back from my painting session with a study like this, I would be very happy, so I could really maybe redesign those pilings. Could be, that deck could be turned to pilings, or maybe something else could be added. Maybe I would reconsider this vertical study into a square or even horizontal painting. Redesign boats slightly, not the boats, canoes and the boat, just to put them compositionally in more expressive, nice looking kind of design. And that's what I would consider. But right now, as a color study, plein air study, field study, this feels great. Again, thank you for your support with your likes, with your contributions, and links is below. Please subscribe to this channel, and specifically for emails to webinars. So because getting your reference in advance makes a big difference, I think, for flow of painting, as many of you are put for me notes or emails in other way, just in personal discussion. I'm very glad that you're here watching and learning. I think if we all learn painting what we have nice memories of, that will make our lives better. And as a side effect, side product is a painting. It's maybe not nice to say side progress, but I think the process of creation, it could be more valuable than the painting itself. Painting could be also very valuable and could be shared with other people as a physical thing. It could be given for holidays, for birthdays, and memory about that event or about that person can go and live through decades, maybe through generations in that family. All right, again, looks like I'm thinking about this, some practical things. It's not about money. Of course, we all need money, but we need to have a quality time helping our souls to survive, to age, and still having happy life. Okay, see you next Thursday next week. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to paint but it should be always something different. I don't want to have just marine scenes every week. Maybe we'll do some still life, will we? Maybe a sunny view, since we did forecast today. Maybe just the road. I'll let you know. Be my subscriber and let's paint together.